Welcome to Main Street Today, where our first segment on Independence Day, our celebration of America, is a throwback piece by my friend Tammi Arender from RFD-TV with a truly great American, Mr. Charlie Daniels.
We raise white-faced horned Herefords and paints and quarter horses. And we don't raise any row crops or anything. We raise some hay and mainly just live here, just love it, just enjoy it.
Charlie Daniels, singer, musician, and rancher. His Twin Pines Ranch, just about 40 miles east of Nashville, isn't just a place to hang his hat. It's his sanctuary.
And I can't imagine living anywhere else. I tell people when I leave Tennessee, I want to go to heaven. When I leave here, I want to move to heaven.
This side of heaven, he's greeted each day by these twin pine trees, hence the property's name. He's also greeted by this horse, New Beginnings. New Beginnings was the lone survivor of a devastating fire here in 2011. All 9 horses in the barn perished that night. They thought this one was gone too.
And Thurman looked around somewhere. I don't know where he found him. When I keep talking about Thurman, Thurman's our ranch guy. He's the ranch manager. He looked around and found a colt that was out of our bloodline, and we named it New Beginnings.
Though he doesn't really like to say it's his, it's just on loan.
You know, we don't ever own anything. God just lets us borrow it while we're here, and He's let me borrow this place, and sir, I sure do thank you. I really do.
The following words were spoken by the late Red Skelton on his television program as he related the story of his teacher, Mr. Laswell, who felt his students had come to think of the Pledge of Allegiance as merely something to recite in class each day. Now, more than ever, listen to the meaning of these words. I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. May I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United, that means that we've all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states, 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, and not from the leaders to the people. For which it stands one nation. One nation meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance, under God. Now, wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that's a prayer, and that it would be eliminated from schools too? God bless America.
So while producing that album on David Ball, we thought we were done, and because the business side of it took some extra time, during that time I wrote this song with Tom Shepard, and by the way, and then David Ball heard us do it one night and trade songs. It was at the WSM AM radio show. And
Do you hear
David,
over the radio?
No, David was with. I was
Oh,
with
he was
David
with
and Tom. We were in the studio there. It was
Okay,
after the Opry. It was called Opry Star Spotlight.
And you had never played it for them?
No, I didn't. But Tom played it that night, and David finally got it. I had actually asked David if I told him about the idea while we were playing golf, and he didn't respond to it at that time. But thank God he did this time. And once he heard it, he wanted a copy of it, and he did a guitar vocal of it. While I was on one of my trips to Washington, this chokes me up to talk about the Vietnam Wall, man. There's 58,000 names on there, and I wanted to see if there was an Andrew Malone. Thank God there really wasn't, but there were 13 other Malones on there. Those Scots-Irish boys, they were always fighting. If they weren't fighting another country, they were fighting each other. They're the ones that did it, really. I mean, I'm telling you. I've done my research. But so what the deal? Well, on the way to the wall, my wife calls me up, and my Vietnam buddy, Carl P. Mayfield, had played that guitar vocal on the radio station. He was a big DJ in town, and the phones went crazy. And
He plays your demo.
yeah, he played just the guitar vocal, and the phones went crazy. And we in the record label decided, hey, we might ought to add that to the record. So that's the way the business side started. So this story, I said 58,000. There was a lot of little people who had cars, and great cars. A lot of the story, we heard people said, "Did you write that about so and so down in Centerville, Tennessee?" I was just out of the service, thumbing through the classified, when an ad that said old Chevy somehow caught my eye. The lady didn't know the year or even if it ran, but had that $1,000 in my hand. It was way back in the corner of this old ramshackle barn. 30 years of dust and dirt on that green army tarp. When I pulled the cover off, it took away my breath. What she called a Chevy was a 66 Corvette. And I felt a little guilty as I counted out the bill. What a thrill I got when I sat behind the wheel. I opened up the glove box and that's when I found the dope. Date was 1966, this is what he wrote. He said, my name is Private Malone, and if you're reading this, then I didn't make it home. But for every dream that shatters, another one comes true. This car was once a dream of mine, now it belongs to you. And though you may take her and make her your own, you'll always be riding with Private Malone. Well, it didn't take me long at all, I had her running good. Love to make those horses thunder underneath the hood. Had her shining like a diamond, and I put the red top down. All the pretty girls would stop and stare as I drove her through town. The buttons on the radio didn't seem to work quite right. It picked up that oldie show, especially late at night. I got the feeling sometimes if I turn real we won't see. Sold her right a shotgun in the seat right next to me. It was that young man named Private Malone, who fought for his country, never made it home. But for every dream that shatters, another one comes true. This car was once a dream I lived back when it was new. He told me to take her and make her my own. Proud to be riding much about that brown trash. Someone said they thought they saw a soldier pull me out. They couldn't get his name, but I know without a doubt it was that young man named Private Malone, who fought for his country, never made it home. But for every dream that's shattered, another one comes true. This car was once a dream of his back when it was new. And I know I wouldn't be here if he hadn't tagged along. Thank God I was riding with Private Malone.
Let me introduce you to Odiss Kohn. Odiss is a true hero for our country, serving in the U.S. Army and Special Forces with 9 tours of duty in the Middle East and Afghanistan. He's a singer-songwriter that I met because of Jamie Dudney on the show that I did on WSM. What a singer. Odiss Kohn. I hope that you like this song. It's really special.
Hey guys, Odiss Kohn here. So I'm going to share with you today a piece of my heart, if you will. Not something I do very often, but it leads up to the song that I wanted to share with you. September 2nd of 2015 at 0400, I lost my dad. My world changed as I knew it. And from that day on until the rest of my life, it wouldn't be the same. It hadn't been the same. It's not going to be the same. The inspiration behind this song was given to me through a good friend named Devin O'Day, who is an extraordinary writer in her own rights. I was fortunate to have the dad that I had. I was truly blessed. I was blessed beyond my means. And I know you all feel the same way about your parents as I do with mine. My dad taught me a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff I wish I'd listened to then. A lot of stuff he said would come to pass, and it has. One thing that he always told me, though, was that the name you're given, son, honor it and cherish it. It's who you are. It's your existence here on this world. This is how people know you. This is it, your name, he said. Yet at the same time, it means so much more to your family. It's a strong name. It was handed down to me, and I'm handing it down to you. He was Odiss Kohn Sr., I'm Odiss Kohn Jr., and I named my son Odiss Kohn III. So if the Lord blesses him and his wife with a son, hopefully they'll do the same by passing that name down one more generation. He also told me your name was like credit. It takes a lifetime to establish and only a second to destroy. Poor decisions can really hurt, and it can have you in a place, in a position that you don't want to be. This song is called The Name. Simple enough, right? He was a simple man. Wasn't complicated at all. He was a man of God. He was a transmission mechanic. He was an avid outdoorsman. He was a father. He was a husband. He was a son. He was a brother. He was many things. But truly the one thing that I know and feel in my heart that he wanted to be remembered by the most was that he was a child of the Almighty. I love you, Pop. I'll see you again one day. Until then, this one's for you. bought his Sunday suits, kept the trucks and tractors running good for miles around. He sure was well respected in our little town, but I was 17, full of dreams and full of life. Mama packed my clothes and bless my soul, Daddy looked me in the eyes. He said, all I have to give you is my name. This one-way ticket, that westbound train. I hope someday, somewhere, you'll find your fortune and fame. All I have to give you is my name. Grandpa gave this name to me. He brought it to America from far across the seas. May sound kind of funny, there's no Rockefeller range. To this Mississippi family, it's worth everything. 'Cause I was 17, full of dreams. Mama packed my clothes and bless my soul. My daddy looked me in the eyes. He said, all I have to give you is my name. There's one-way ticket, that westbound train. I hope someday, somewhere, you'll find your fortune and fame. All I have to give you is my name. Tonight I watch my baby boy sleep there in his bed. Hey, I'll proudly tell him what his grandpa said. 'Cause all I have to give you is my name. There's one-way ticket, that westbound train. I hope someday, somewhere, you'll find your fortune and fame. All I have to give you is my name. All I have to give you is my name. Hey folks, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thanks, Dad. Pops, I love you. To the heavens above. Love your loved ones, 'cause you never know. See you next time.
Puts on a clean shirt, and after taking a long hot shower, tells his wife he loves her. Stops to hear his children laughing, walks out the front door into his new world, not taking anything for granted. Thankful all he has to fight today is traffic. Couple months ago in a Humvee, he was on patrol, dodging IEDs, leading his team through Kabul, Afghanistan. But adjusting don't come easily, and home ain't what it used to be, 'cause every little thing means so much more to a soldier living a life he was willing to die for. He ordered a Big Mac. Lady said, "You want to supersize those fries?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am. And a large Coke if you mind." 'Cause he's been needing to taste that freedom, and he's been waiting a long, long time before she could ring him up. He took that first bite. But a couple months ago, he was overseas on the front lines, eating MREs every day of the week, and all he could taste was sand. But adjusting don't come easily, and home ain't what it used to be, 'cause every little thing means so much more to a soldier living a life he was willing to die for. When they send your brothers home in a flag-covered box, it makes a man appreciate what he's got. A couple months ago they had his back, but shots ring out, and just like that all hell broke loose, and they died to save his life. And adjusting don't come easily, and home ain't what it used to be, 'cause every little thing means so much more to a soldier living a life they were willing to die for. Yeah, we're all living a life they were willing to die for.
Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, "Let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners." They said, "We want to send a man out to discuss this with you." They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, "We want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange." On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, "Men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free." He said, "Tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies." He said, "You'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains." As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, "We have a slight problem." He said, "We will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter." And Francis Scott Key said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Mr. Key," he said, "tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star Spangled Banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid."
From Nashville, Tennessee, national recording artists Rockland Road.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so
gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home